The rain hammered against the windows of his apartment, but I barely heard it over the pounding of my own heart. We stood there in his kitchen, dripping wet from our sprint through the storm, and I couldn't remember why I'd ever thought staying away from him was a good idea. "You should go," he said, but his voice cracked on the last word, betraying everything he wasn't saying. I should have. God knows I should have walked out that door and never looked back. We'd been dancing around this for months, stolen glances across the office, conversations that lasted too long, excuses to work late together. I had 100 reasons why this was a bad idea. He was my colleague. We'd both just gotten out of relationships. The timing was all wrong. But then he looked at me with those storm-gray eyes, and every logical thought evaporated like steam. "I can't keep doing this," I said, my voice rough. "Pretending I don't feel this." His jaw clenched. "Feel what?" He was going to make me say it. Make me put words to this thing that had been growing between us, wild and terrifying and impossible to ignore. Like I'm going to combust every time you're near me. Like I can't breathe properly when you smile at someone else. Like I think about you every goddamn minute of every day and it's driving me insane. The silence stretched between us, taut as a wire. Rain lashed the windows. Somewhere in the building, a pipe groaned. "Just once," he whispered, and I barely heard him over the storm. We could just, once, get it out of our systems. We both knew it was a lie. Whatever this was between us, it wouldn't be satisfied with once. But I nodded anyway, because I would have agreed to anything in that moment. He crossed the space between us in 2 strides, and then his hands were in my hair and his mouth was on mine, and I understood why people wrote songs about moments like this. Why they went to war, burned cities, destroyed their lives. Because kissing him felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. I pushed him back against the counter, knocking over a mug that shattered on the tile floor. Neither of us cared. His fingers dug into my shoulders hard enough to bruise, and I wanted those bruises. Wanted proof that this was real, that I wasn't imagining the way he gasped when I kissed down his neck, the way he said my name like a prayer. "Just once," he repeated against my lips, but his hands were already pulling me closer, holding me like he'd never let go. I picked him up, and he wrapped his legs around my waist as I carried him down the hallway, our mouths never separating. We crashed through his bedroom door, and I lowered him onto the bed, covering his body with mine. "You're shaking," he said, his hand cupping my face. "So are you." He smiled then, soft and devastating. "I'm terrified." "Me too." "Don't stop." "Couldn't if I wanted to." We undressed each other slowly, despite the urgency thrumming through my veins. I wanted to memorize every inch of him, the constellation of freckles across his shoulders, the scar on his ribs from a childhood accident, the way his breath hitched when I kissed the inside of his wrist. "I've wanted this for so long," I confessed against his skin. "How long?" "Since the day you walked into that conference room and argued with me about the Johnson account." He laughed, breathless. "That was 8 months ago." "I know. I wanted to kiss you right then. You were so passionate and stubborn and completely wrong, and I thought, I'm in trouble." I raised my head to look at him. "You knew. Even then." "I knew I was done for the moment you smiled at me. We made love like we were drowning and each other was air. Desperate and tender and overwhelming." His hands mapped every part of me, and I learned the sounds he made, the places that made him arch into my touch, the way he said, "Please," and "Yes," and "Don't stop." Afterward, we lay tangled together, our heartbeats slowly returning to normal. The storm had passed, leaving only the soft patter of rain against the windows. His fingers traced idle patterns on my chest. "Just once," he said again, but this time it sounded like a question. I tightened my arms around him. "We're both terrible liars." He turned to look up at me, and there was something vulnerable in his expression. What do we do now? I don't know. Figure it out together. The timing's wrong. Work will be complicated. Everyone will have opinions. I know. My ex will probably throw a fit. Your friends will think we're moving too fast. Probably. This could be a disaster. I kissed his forehead, breathing him in. It could be. Or it could be the best decision we ever make. He was quiet for a long moment, and I felt the shift in him, the moment the fear gave way to something else. Something like hope. Stay, he whispered. Not just tonight. Stay. My throat tightened. Are you sure? No. But I'm sure I don't want to let you go. I'm sure I've been half alive for months, and tonight is the first time I've felt whole. I'm sure that, just once, was never going to be enough. I pulled him closer, pressing my lips to his hair. Then I'm staying. As long as you'll have me. That might be a very long time. Good. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and when I woke in the morning to find him still there, real and warm and mine, I knew we'd crossed a line we could never uncross. He stirred, opened his eyes, and smiled at me with a mixture of joy and terror that I felt mirrored in my own chest. Morning, he said softly. Morning. No regrets. I kissed him, slow and deep, trying to pour everything I felt into it. Not a single one. Even though everything's about to get complicated. Especially because of that. You're worth complicated. You're worth everything. His eyes shone with unshed tears. We're really doing this. If you want to. I want to, he said, and kissed me again. God help me, I want to. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, painting his bedroom in gold. And as I held him in that perfect morning light, I thought about how we'd said, just once, like we could control this thing between us. Like we could experience it and walk away unscathed. But some things, once started, can never be stopped. Some people, once found, can never be let go. He was my just once that became forever, and I wouldn't have it any other way.